As usual, you know my name is Caxton, and this is All Things with Caxton. So, week in, week out, month in, month out, we try to bring you amazing content. But this time around, we're trying to educate you on a very important uh, part of the society thing you need to know. And today, my guest is an amazing professor. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. How you doing, ma?
I'm doing great. And my name is Cynthia Soti.
Professor Cynthia Soti, it is so good to have you here. I've been trying for a long time to have you, and today I'm sure my viewers will be educated with what you're going to teach us today.
I hope so.
Okay. Going into we're going into social works proper,
Mm,
which is your profession as a professional. Would like to know your background of social works, how you
mm,
started, when you started, and
mm,
why did you choose social
yeah.
work?
Okay. I'm originally from Ghana,
Yeah.
and I did my Bachelor of Social Work in Ghana, and
Hmm.
then moved to the US in the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah, to do my master's in social work and worked a little bit within the community mental health center,
Mhm.
you know, uh, in that field.
Yeah.
And then I went to the UK as well to do my
Hmm.
PhD much later on.
Oh.
And I've been teaching at the University of Ghana. Well, I was teaching there from 2000 to 2016 before I came here
Hmm.
to Booth in 2016. And it's interesting how I went into that field.
Exactly.
I didn't choose social work.
Oh.
I wanted to be an accountant. Yes. So I chose Bachelor of Science in Administration.
Mm.
But at that time, there was only one university that was offering that course, and it was so difficult to get in.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know what social work was. And that year was the year that bachelor's degree in social work was introduced at the University of Ghana.
Mm.
And they were looking for students.
Mm.
No one applied for it because no one knew what it was, right? They were looking for students. And so they just put me in without me even applying for it. And I was
Oh,
so upset.
I can imagine.
But then, after the very few weeks of classes,
Hmm.
and actually one of my prof schooled here at Queen's University,
Oh,
was sharing her experiences and all that. I just fell in love with the course.
oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an amazing
So,
story.
so it was accidental. Actually, I
Yeah.
didn't choose it.
Oh.
I built a home for you, for me.
Okay, ma. After your beautiful introduction, uh, I'm sure a lot of people actually inspired to actually be in this field. Some journey start in different ways, you know, you never can tell. Yeah. So going to my next question is debunking myths and education. What are some common misconceptions about social works? And how does Moch University College work to address this in the curriculum? Like you've been here for a while, so
Mhm.
and I'm a student in your school, so
Yeah.
there's a thing people like to know, for the reputation of the school as well. So
Mhm.
yeah.
One very common misconception is that people think so all social workers work in child protection
Oh,
and they take children away from their homes. Yeah, that is a very common
that's
misconception.
interesting.
Yeah, not all social workers work in child protection.
Mhm.
There are various fields, right? Mental health and addictions, working with
Mhm.
older people, persons with disabilities,
Hmm.
like different, we have different working with communities,
Yeah.
community empowerment, community capacity building,
Mm.
working in research,
Oh yeah.
policy,
Hmm.
and I'm here, education, right?
Mhm.
And also that misconception that social workers take babies away
From
from
there.
homes. Yeah.
That's
Um, safety is very important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so social workers do an assessment of the home to make sure that the child is safe. It's
Safe.
only when the child is not safe in their assessment, the child is not safe, that then they try to find a safer place for
A
the
place
child.
for the child.
But then family preservation or reunification is always the goal. And so they work with families to make sure that children can remain in their
Family.
families. And I know that most of indigenous groups and like immigrants, their children are often overrepresented in the foster care system, right? And so what we do as both in the classroom, what we teach our students is to make sure that they are not taking a child from the home purely because the culture is different.
Oh yes.
You get me?
Yeah.
They need, and so cultural awareness is very, very important. We all raise our children in different ways, and the way the fact that the culture is different, newcomers culture or the indigenous culture is different from the mainstream Canadian culture, whatever that means,
Yeah.
does not mean that that child is not safe in the home. And so we talk to students a lot about that. They need to be culturally aware, culturally sensitive. They need to learn from other cultures and not impose our values on those cultures. Yeah, we talk about all that, and that is very important.
That's amazing because the society we live in, it encourages culture and diversity. So I think what you said is just very important. If you're looking into any situation, you actually have to put that in perspective.
Yes.
So
yes.
this is something I've learned today from you. Maybe I will call myself a social work student.
Yeah. So there are a lot of myths, right? But I just want to focus on that because
major.
that's the main one. And sometimes also people think that social workers just do handouts. Yeah, just give things. Charity work, right? But we seek to empower people to do things for themselves, right? We don't just hand things to them. And another misconception is that all you need is to have a good heart, be a compassionate person, and you can be a social worker. You don't need any professional skills. And that is not true. You know, you can have a good heart, but then mess people's lives up because you don't have the knowledge and the skills that are needed. You need knowledge in human behavior across the lifespan, and that's psychology, right? Why people behave the way they do. You need specialized knowledge on different age groups. You need knowledge on policy,
True.
right? There's so much that you need theory, certain theories. You need counseling skills.
This is the
Yeah. Knowledge on community development, community capacity building. We have a code of ethics that we have to adhere to, just like any other profession, right?
true.
And if you don't have knowledge of these things, you may end up messing up the lives of people who are vulnerable, already vulnerable, because most of you work with vulnerable populations, right? And so if you don't have the skills that are needed to work with these people, we work with people who are traumatized, and you will end up adding to their trauma. Yeah. And so you need specialized skills to be able to practice as a social worker. Yes, having a good heart, being compassionate is excellent. It's a way to start.
Okay.
But then if you are someone who yes has that all those, you are compassionate and you have a lot of empathy and you want to see people thrive, that's the first step. So come and then we'll give you the knowledge and skills that you require to take it a step further.
This is well educating because people have a lot of misconception. Social works do not encourage people taking their children away. They rather try to find a safe place for these children or how they can make the environment is safe with the family and the students. So
And-
if you have a misconception out there,
Yeah.
you've heard from my professor,
Yeah.
and this is a strong point to take home.
Yeah, and empower families, give them the skills needed, to take care of their children, because children belong with their families,
Exactly.
not elsewhere.
Exactly. So change your mindset. Social workers do not take children away, but they make the children stay with their family, if I say the right
Safely.
thing, safely in their homes. Thank you. We'll be right back. Going to my next question, which is the social impact.
Yeah.
In your view, what value has social work added to our society, particularly in terms of advocacy, community building, and supporting vulnerable population, which is very important?
So social work is I always say social work is the conscience of society, right? And social work has been behind a lot of advocacy work, community building, supporting vulnerable populations. We are at the forefront of policy reforms. It comes to child welfare, mental health, housing, anti-discriminatory laws. We amplify the voices of like marginalized communities. We try to ensure that policies reflect the needs of indigenous groups, groups that are racialized, and vulnerable populations in general. We do research. Some of us who are in education, we do a lot of research which informs activism, which informs policies, which drive systemic change, right? And since COVID, housing has become unaffordable, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that we are talking about a lot through our research, trying to push for equitable access to resources. Um, then community building, right? Strengthening community ties, trying to build communities that are inclusive, that are resilient, able to identify their own needs and to do something about their community needs to improve their communities. Um, yeah, access to healthcare and education. We are at the forefront advocating for some of these things, So social work, we try to work towards transforming society, trying to work towards a just society. As I said earlier, we are the conscience of society, right?
Yeah.
So things that others may not see, we see them.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for this point. This is so amazing. Guys, we'll go for a water break and I'll be back with my professor that I educate us more. So talking about technology and ethics, how is technology shaping the future of social works? And what ethical consideration do you think this brings?
So since COVID, technology has been like transforming social work in several ways, like accessibility, and service delivery. Now we have virtual counseling and teletherapy, right? And so you can sit in the comfort of your home and access therapy. You don't have to think about transportation or childcare, and online advocacy, community building, e-learning, professional development. I'm able to sit in my office and attend a conference in the US, right? And do my presentation. I don't have to be on a plane and go and book a hotel, all those expenses. No, I just sit here and present my paper, right? Yeah. So the same with client. Clients sit at home and access whatever service that they need virtually, right? Now the only thing is that now we have to think about issues of confidentiality, because we are using these technologies also to store client information. So we have to guard it. We have hackers out there, who can hack into systems and take this information, hold it ransom just to make money. And so we have to follow rules on how we store data, making sure that we safeguard it. Also, how we use social media, right? Making sure that all these are safeguarded. Now, I mentioned earlier that accessibility, service delivery has become easier, right? But then also for some people, it's not that easy. People, especially in rural areas, may not have access to good internet. They may not have access to phones or computers, right? Laptops. And so when it comes to accessibility, they may not have access, or they may not even be literate in how these things are used, and so service will still not get to those people. And so it's about making sure that in this age of technology, making sure that everybody has access, everybody is educated on how to use some of these gadgets. Everybody has access to internet.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because it reduces costs a lot.
True.
Having to travel, having to pay for daycare.
Yo, Connor, 4 corners of the world. Yeah. Tell them. It's a marathon, it's not 100 meters.
So next for me is your personal story as a professor, about your work, lesson you have learned about, and how you have used your field to educate students.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've been in the teaching field since 2000, and I would say that my students have taught me a lot. Yeah, and I have this story that I always share from Ghana, and there was this student that I was supervising. I was supervising her thesis with another colleague, and she was struggling a little bit in coming up with even her proposal, right? And so at a point, we sat her down to tell her that research might not be for everybody. There are some people who are good with practice, but not with that research, with that rigorous academic work. So we sat her down and talked to her, trying to dissuade her from doing the thesis, because she was struggling a lot. But then, we wanted her to decide for herself. So told her to go and think about it and come back in about a week or two to tell us whether or not she wants to continue with the thesis. She came back and said she wanted to continue. And I said, okay, if you want to continue, I'm going to support you in the best way that I can.
Definitely.
Right? And I worked alongside her, and she finished. She managed to finish her thesis.
Amazing.
And usually the thesis, we send it outside. There are external examiners. I think that with that thesis, the external examiner was from the US. The thesis came back with no corrections.
Wow.
No correction. Usually they pass it with corrections, but her thesis came back with no corrections. You know what that taught me? Never to give up on anybody.
True.
That was a lesson that student taught me. And it was I took her out for lunch.
Oh.
I had to take her out for lunch.
Yeah.
And it was a valuable lesson for me. And so throughout, no matter how much a student is struggling, I know that student can make it. And I've had students even here at Booth who could tell they're struggling. And I had one particular student, she was so anxious she couldn't even answer questions in class. But in her 4th year, I saw her raising her hand to answer questions. And she's currently working with the youth.
That's growth. So my next question is on current challenges.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest challenges social workers face in Canada today, especially regarding mental health and marginalized communities?
Okay. Yeah. So limited access to mental health services. Yeah, that's a big one. And since COVID, mental health, issues have increased. but it looks like the services haven't increased proportionally to that. And so long wait times to access mental health services. And then, of course, shortage of mental health and professional, like workers to, yeah. So that has been a problem. So limited number of mental health professionals in the field, underfunding, yeah, and high caseloads. Many social workers are burned out. Yeah, because the caseloads are really, really high, and it's difficult to reach everybody. It's difficult to provide the quality care that everyone needs, right? Yeah, and also affordable housing has become a big issue, a big problem. People can't afford houses, so homelessness is on the rise. Yeah, homelessness is on the rise, and one or other issue is also stigma around mental health. Uh, People may, especially marginalized communities, you know, and newcomer communities as well, because there's a lot of stigma around mental health. Some of those people are reluctant to seek help, you know, and also sometimes it's the way they are treated when they seek help, and so they don't. Yeah, and sometimes also I realize, I don't know if you know about sickle cell. Sickle cell disease. Yeah. And in this part of the world, sickle cell is uh, usually affects African Americans. Like, let me, not really African, black people. Let me say black people. African Americans, that's limiting. So black people don't understand it so well. I've heard a story about this guy from Africa who was uh, had a sickle cell crisis on a bus, and like was suffering. And if you've been around someone with sickle cell, and it's like your bones. They tell me that it's like as if your bones have been broken, and so it's so painful. And this guy was in excruciating pain, but then people thought that probably was drug overdose. Yes, and so some of these things, sometimes we might not be able to tell exactly what is wrong with the person, and make assumptions that are incorrect, and so not give timely care to the person. Yeah. And so these are some of the things that we have to, as like social workers and healthcare professionals, let's be patient and look out for some of these things. And even ordinary citizens, right? Yeah, when we see someone struggling, let's not assume that it's overdose. Let's try to interact with the person. Yeah.
Very true. In any situation, whether overdose is not overdose, someone is suffering, every necessary help is actually welcome to help the person, from what you're saying. So assumptions should not come into the conversation. It's something that I have learned from what you're saying. Because sometimes we say, oh, he's drunk. I mean, even if he's drunk on the floor, he needs help.
He needs help.
Yes, if you can call 911 right away. Yes, come, this person is actually in this state, than assuming that, oh, he's overdose, or he'll come back. Even overdose can lead to death.
It does lead into death. So no matter what you think it is, just don't make any assumptions. Just call for help. Help this individual.
Yeah. Thank you for this vital point. This is good to know about these challenges, and I'm sure we are so amazed to know some things. Okay, we'll be right back, guys. Thank you. So, Prof, I've kept you for a long time today in this conversation. So I'm at my last question, which is call to action. What message would you like to leave with our viewers about supporting social work and its vital role in creating a more just and compassionate society?
Social work is the backbone of a just and compassionate society. It's about advocating for systemic change, building stronger communities, ensuring that no one is left behind. We are the front lines. Social workers are well, I'm in education, right? So we teach students who are at the front lines, and of mental health support, helping people who are in poverty, deep poverty, struggling with mental health addictions, uh, involved in child welfare, working with families, to make sure they can provide for their children, involved in human rights. And, social workers work tirelessly with limited resources. And if we want a society that values dignity, equity, that, is concerned about the well-being for all, we must invest in social work. It's important, through policy support, funding, and we must respect the profession. Whether it's pushing for better mental health services, supporting marginalized communities, or simply recognizing the work that social workers do. A lot of emotional and physical labor goes into it, day in and day out. And so we must support, social workers, stand with them. And it's not just a profession, it's about commitment to building a better world. And this is something that we must all, stand behind. And so let's support social workers. When we can balance the budget, let's not cut social services. Let's decrease them. Because when there's economic crisis, that's when social workers are needed most.
True.
Mental health issues, addictions issues, increases, and we need social workers. So let's not cut services.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for this word. We've learned a lot, my viewers, myself. I understand the importance of social works. I hope next time I will call you, you'll still be available for us.
I sure will.
Debunking.com.